Hello and welcome. Today, we're going to explore essential interview skills that will help you succeed in your job search. Whether you're preparing for your first interview or looking to refine your approach, this tutorial will guide you through every stage of the interview process. Let's get started. In this video, we'll cover the complete interview journey in 4 key parts. First, we'll discuss how to prepare effectively before your interview. Second, we'll explore strategies for individual interviews, including body language and answering questions. Third, we'll examine group interview dynamics and what makes candidates stand out. Finally, we'll look at how to close your interview professionally and leave a lasting positive impression. The first step to interview success is to know yourself and know your opponent. Or in this case, know the company and the role you're applying for. A careful analysis of the job description can actually reveal what kind of person that they are looking for. Pay close attention to the language used in the job advertisement. Are they emphasizing the ability to juggle multiple projects simultaneously, or do they focus on deep expertise in a specific area? Does the role require someone outgoing and sociable who thrives in team settings, or are they seeking a dedicated, independent worker who excels in focused, solitary tasks? For example, if you see phrases like the ability to work under tight schedules and pressure or fast-paced environment, this suggests they're looking for someone who can multitask effectively, stay calm under stress, and adapt quickly to changing priorities. By making these educated guesses from the job description, you can tailor your responses and even adjust your demeanor to align with what the company values most. You should also expect interviews to ask questions based on your CV, review your resume carefully and identify which experiences are most relevant to the position you're applying for. Always be prepared to bridge these experiences with the current job. Think in advance about how your skills are transferable. For example, if you worked in customer service and you're now applying for a marketing role, explain how dealing with customer feedback gave you insights into consumer behavior. Support your answers with real stories and demonstrate how these experiences either made you more determined to pursue this industry or equipped you with relevant technical knowledge that will help you excel in this new position. You may also leverage AI tools to give yourself an edge. For example, you can upload both your CV and the job advertisement to AI tools like ChatGPT or similar platforms to predict potential interview questions. The AI can analyze the match between your experience and the job requirements, then generate likely questions interviews might ask. However, pay attention to privacy. Before uploading, edit or obscure sensitive personal details. You may also use AI to simulate the actual interview experience. You can ask the AI to conduct a mock interview, asking you questions one by one. What's particularly valuable is that AI can generate realistic follow-up questions based on your responses, just like a real interview would. For more advanced preparation, you can even ask AI to role-play as a difficult or skeptical interviewer who challenges your answers. You can also use AI to evaluate your written responses for clarity and impact, then suggest improvements to make your answers more compelling. You're now well prepared. Let's move on to the actual interview itself. Now let's discuss how to handle the individual questions you'll face during the interview. In interviews, you're expected to give elaborate, thoughtful responses even when the question itself is short and simple. The optimal response time for most questions is around 1 minute, long enough to provide substance, but concise enough to maintain the interviewer's attention. Be mindful of how long you're actually speaking. Many interviewees lose track of time and ramble without realizing they've been talking for 2 or 3 minutes. On the screen, you'll see some of the most frequently asked questions in interviews. It's wise to prepare answers for these core questions, but with the flexibility to tailor them for each specific job post. There's debate about whether you should memorize word-for-word scripts. While being well prepared seems like it can't hurt, overly scripted answers often backfire. When you try to recite a perfect, memorized response in the actual interview, it rarely comes out as planned. You'll stumble, forget parts, or even sound robotic. Instead, aim for a structured approach rather than verbatim memorization. A good response not only contains relevant content but also makes the interview feel you've genuinely thought about the question before. To achieve this, use cohesive devices like firstly, building on that, or what's more important is, these create a natural narrative flow that sounds both prepared and authentic, without the rigidity of a scripted answer. It is impossible to prepare every question beforehand, so the trick is to improvise structured responses. While individual interviews test your personal qualifications, many organizations also use group interviews to assess how you collaborate and communicate with others. Let's explore how to excel in these settings. Group interviews typically involve multiple candidates being assessed simultaneously, often ranging from 4 to 8 people. The format usually includes a group discussion or problem-solving task where candidates must work together to analyze a case study. Typically, you'll be given a brief period to read the materials, followed by a discussion lasting around 20 minutes. Throughout this process, interviewers observe from the sidelines, taking notes on how each candidate interacts with others. Remember, they're not just evaluating what you say, but how you say it and how you work within the group dynamic. On the screen, you'll see a range of important DOS for group discussion interviews. For instance, actively encourage others to share their opinions. This demonstrates leadership and emotional intelligence. You might say something like, "That's an interesting point. Does anyone have a different perspective?" Or, "I'd like to hear what others think about this approach." Another crucial skill is to listen carefully before contributing. Don't rush to speak just to be heard. Take time to genuinely understand what others are saying, and step in to redirect the conversation only when necessary, such as when the discussion goes off topic or when the group is stuck in unproductive debate. You might say, "We've had great discussion on this point, but we have limited time. Perhaps we should move on to discussing implementation strategies." Let's also look at the common pitfalls you should avoid in group discussions. On the screen, you'll see several critical stones to keep in mind. First, don't dominate the discussion by talking most of the time. Even if you're knowledgeable and enthusiastic, monopolizing the conversation signals poor self-awareness and an inability to work collaboratively. Interviews want to see that you can share the floor and create space for others to contribute. If you notice you've spoken several times in a row, consciously pause and invite others to share. Second, don't focus solely on the assessor or try to make eye contact only with the interviews while speaking. This is a group discussion, not a presentation to the panel. Your primary audience is your fellow candidates. Addressing them directly, making eye contact with group members, and engaging in genuine dialogue shows you understand teamwork dynamics. The assessors are observing your interaction with the group, not waiting for you to perform for them. Remember, group interviews assess your ability to be both assertive and collaborative. Finding that balance is key to success. As your interview comes to a close, there's one opportunity you should always be prepared for when the interview asks, "Do you have any questions for us?" This happens in almost every interview, and you should absolutely make use of this invitation. Avoid saying, "No, I think you've covered everything," as this can come across as unprepared. The best questions focus on things that the job advertisement and the interviews didn't mention extensively but are clearly relevant to the position you've applied for. For example, you might ask, "Could you describe the typical daily responsibilities of this role?" This shows you want to understand the practical, day-to-day reality of the position beyond what's written in the job description. Another good question is, "What are some of the main challenges I might face in this role?" This demonstrates that you're thinking realistically about the position and are prepared to tackle difficulties rather than expecting everything to be straightforward. You could also ask about team dynamics, Can you tell me about the team I'd be working with, or about growth opportunities? What does success look like in this role after the first 6 months? These questions show you're thinking beyond just getting the job. As the interview concludes, remember that your final impression matters just as much as your first. When it's time to leave, stand up confidently and express genuine gratitude. A simple "thank you so much for your time today" goes a long way. Make eye contact with each interview if there are multiple people in the room, and leave at a measured pace. Collect your belongings calmly and close the door gently behind you. These small details reinforce the professionalism you've demonstrated throughout. And that brings us to the end of this tutorial. Today, we've covered the complete interview journey, from thorough preparation and strategic question prediction, to making strong impressions in both individual and group interview settings, and finally, closing professionally with thoughtful questions. Successful interviews aren't just about having the right qualifications on paper. They're also about demonstrating that you're someone who is genuinely enthusiastic about the opportunity. With the strategies we've discussed today, you're well equipped to approach your next interview with confidence. Good luck, and thank you for watching.